What's up, Bears fans? Happy Saturday night. Happy holidays. We have some news. My name is Harrison Graham. Hit that subscribe button because when news drops, we have you covered here on this channel. Matt Eberflus is likely to return next season as the Bears head coach, at least according to Ian Rapoport of the NFL Network. Now, there seems to be context here. I don't think it's as black and white as the headlines on Twitter suggest right now. So let me just read the quote. We'll react, and you guys can react as well. Here's what Matt Eberflus basically said right before kickoff, Ian Rapoport said right before kickoff of Cowboys-Lions on NFL Network just about an hour ago. He said, quote, "I would be surprised as of now if Matt Eberflus was not back for the Chicago Bears. They've looked much better. They certainly seem to be headed in the right direction. I hear nothing but positive vibes from Chicago," close quote. Now, is that a straight-up report of he's returning? There's no chance he's not back? No, but I also take that with good value because this is Ian Rapoport we're talking about. He says he's hearing nothing but good things out of Chicago. Now, could that change if you go lose to Atlanta and Green Bay? Probably, but could the Bears be heavily leaning toward keeping Flus and barring a complete meltdown these last 2 weeks, like if they split or better, will he likely be back? Kind of seems that way, right? I've kind of had this feeling recently of Flus might just be back. Like, I know a lot of us would like to upgrade. I would like to upgrade, but it just seems like they don't want to fire him. I don't think Ryan Poles wants to get rid of him. I don't know what's in Kevin Warren's brain. It's hard to know what he's thinking about these things, but it doesn't seem like he wants him gone either necessarily. Like, I think they'd rather find reasons to keep him than to fire him. Now, again, you go out there and lose to Atlanta at home, go up to Lambeau Field and get embarrassed in Week 18 against Green Bay. I think that could swing the pendulum again. But we do at least have to acknowledge that this team seems to be fighting for Flus. They seem to be rallying around Flus. They seem to like Flus. The Bears put out that clip on social media today or yesterday, whatever it was, where Flus is dabbing up players before the last game, and he has nicknames for all the different players, and they seem to be responding well to him. So I do think, and I've said this for weeks and a couple of months now, the one thing that seems to be undisputed is that this team does play for Matt Eberflus. Now, I've been in the camp of, if you can go get a Jim Harbaugh, if you can get a Ben Johnson, I would probably do that because I'm pretty confident Harbaugh's an upgrade. And while Ben Johnson hasn't been a head coach before, I think aligning him with either a drafted quarterback or with Justin Fields as an offensive mind that's gotten the most out of Jared Goff, that makes a lot of sense to me. But at the same time, the Bears are 6-5 after an 0-4 start to this season. Like, this season was dead to rights heading into that Washington game. They won that game. They've gone 6-5 since. And by the way, 2 of those 5 losses were fourth quarter collapses, and one of those first 4 games you lost was the Denver loss as well. So if you'd won 1 or 2 of those, you'd be in playoff position. Now, I would make a strong argument that is probably working against Matt Eberflus, or at least somewhat should, right? Like, hey, yeah, the team stayed together. You're improving, but you also blew 3 games where you had 90% chance or better of winning. And in the Denver and Detroit case, I think it was 98+%. Cleveland was like 90-91%. The point being is, if you had won just 1 or 2 of those, you'd be in prime position to make the playoffs. Instead, you got this 1% shot in the dark to make it. But clearly, it sounds like the Bears are pleased with the progress. I do have to give Flus credit. The defense has improved greatly since he's taken over that side of the football. Also, the players do seem to be rallying around him. So it's certainly very interesting. We're going to explore what could this mean for Luke Getsy, what could this mean for Justin Fields, assuming this is true. But I want to ask you guys first, do you want Matt Eberflus back in 2024? Simple yes or no question. Type Y for yes, type in for no. Pin comment, YouTube ad break, reply right there. Again, I would prefer to upgrade. However, I do understand if you can't, let's say you can't get Jim Harbaugh. Is there a clear upgrade? I would put Ben Johnson in the upgrade category. Offensive guy, he's going to be highly regarded. I would put that. Beyond that, though, if I'm being fair to Flus and the progress this team has made, I don't know if there's a clear answer out there of an upgrade. Now, there could be upgrades, but there could not be. Like any first-year head coach, including Ben Johnson to an extent, although I wouldn't make that move, we can't sit here and say with 100% or even 80% confidence that they would just come in here and be an instant upgrade from Matt Eberflus. Do I think Flus has flaws? Yes. Do I think he's a quirky guy? No doubt about it. Do I question his ability to be a head coach of a team that can have a quality offense? Yeah, I do. If you're going to go this route, you're going to have to find the right offensive coordinator because that's where I want to go next. Luke Getsy. I don't think you can go just a straight run it back here, right? Now, if you crush Atlanta and Green Bay and the offense fires on all cylinders, maybe you just run it all back with Flus, Getsy, and Fields. But I feel like there has to be some tangible change. And if the only change is the quarterback, I think that's a mistake. And here's why. Let's say you bring back Flus and you bring back Getsy and you trade Justin and you draft Caleb Williams. And let's say next year the Bears are 7-10 and there's not tangible improvement in the win-loss category and the offense is still uneven. Well, you know what's going to happen? They're going to fire Flus. The coach staff's going to get fired. And guess what? You're in the exact same position you were in when Poles and Flus took over, where you have a quarterback entering year 2 with a head coach, potentially a GM. Well, we would see. We'd have to wait and see on that regard. That did not draft said quarterback. So I almost think if you're keeping Matt Eberflus, does that mean you're keeping Justin Fields? If you're keeping Flus and Getsy, I think it almost has to mean that. Like, I don't trust Getsy to develop a rookie quarterback. I don't think Matt Eberflus, although the team has improved, justifies going to swing big at the quarterback position. Like, you're putting all your faith in this coaching staff. Like, could you imagine the scenario where they keep Flus, they keep Getsy, and they trade Fields? Like, to me, I just don't see that happening. So I think if you're going to keep Flus, I think Getsy has to go. And then you determine with the new offensive coordinator who you're bringing in if you're keeping Fields or if you're drafting Caleb Williams or Drake May or whatever. I think that's what this would likely turn into, right? Because, again, I just don't see it, man. Like, I don't see you bringing back the whole coaching staff, trading Justin, and then if next year goes poorly, well, Caleb Williams, second-year guy with a brand-new coaching staff, like, you just did that with Fields. Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace got the draft, and they were gone after a year. He had to learn. He had to start over with the new regime. Do you really want to go down that cycle again? Now, I guess you could bring them all back, Flus, Getsy, Fields, but then I feel like Ryan Poles would be on the hot seat entering next year, even though I think he's done a good job of, like, if this thing doesn't at least make the playoffs next year, it's like, then Kevin Warren's like, okay, y'all convinced me to run it back, and it didn't work. I think there's going to have to be some level of change. Between Flus, Getsy, and Fields, I think at least one, if not two, are gone. That's just my opinion. So we'll see what happens. I don't think this is necessarily Matt Eberflus is returning no matter what. But I do think if the season ended today, that probably would be the case. You would have finished going 6-5, 4 straight home wins. Now you got one more home win. You got a game against the Packers. These are 2 important games. I think if you're Flus, you got to be thinking, hey, like, I got to win both of these. Like, that should be the approach if you're Matt Eberflus, and especially that game up at Lambeau Field, because you want to convince the McCaskies especially, go beat the Packers, because that is something that this team has not been able to do since the 2018 season. All right. Bit of a news dump here on a Saturday night. Hope everybody had a Merry Christmas. Happy New Year around the corner. We will be live tomorrow, 10:45 a.m. Central. I'm sure we'll talk more about this. We got a game at noon, obviously, so join us for that. Myself, Rolly, we're ready to go. I'm sure Rolly's going to have some strong opinions on this report from Ian Rapoport. So be sure to subscribe to the channel. Join us tomorrow morning for Bears versus Falcons as the Bears look to keep their very slight playoff hopes alive. By the way, if the Panthers win tomorrow, the Bears clinch the number one, or if they lose tomorrow, they clinch the number one overall pick. The Bears do. So we'll be live for the Bears game. We'll make sure the Panthers game concludes as well, because if they lose, we can celebrate having the number one pick. All right. Appreciate it. Get the bear downs going in the comments. My name is Harrison Graham. We will see you guys tomorrow. Peace.